Hello and welcome to another Royal Reviewer live pop-up chat, attempt number 2. So if you've just spent the past 18 minutes with me in the previous chat I did, it went completely wrong. The internet connection kept dropping out, so I decided to just terminate that chat and I'm going to redo the video. That means redoing everything from the top, so I do apologise if you have sat through 18 minutes of me talking about what I'm going to talk about again. We're going to have to go through it again because I deleted that previous video. So, hello and welcome to today's video. It is Thursday the 19th of March 2020, and as always this is a live chat where things can go wrong, and they did. So, without further ado, let's go to the live chat room and see who has made it this time. I have rebooted my internet to see if it was that, so I don't know what's going on, but we shall try again. So I have lots and lots of royal news to talk about, and I'm hoping that people are getting a notification for this video. Right, hello and welcome to everyone. I can see people are there. So without further ado, let's start with a message from the Queen. So this message was posted a little over 2 hours ago. It was only posted an hour ago from when I made my first attempt of this video, but it is now 2 hours ago. I was going to come on today and talk about how much I think the nation, the Commonwealth and the world needed to hear from the Queen. And I think UK government and the royal family, the monarchy, have picked up on that sense that we need to hear from the Queen. And the Queen has indeed responded with this message. So, the message reads, "As Philip and I arrive at Windsor today, we know that many individuals and families across the UK and around the world are entering a period of great concern and uncertainty. We are all being advised to change our normal routines and regular patterns of life for the greater good of the communities we live in, and in particular, to protect the most vulnerable within them. At times such as these, I am reminded that our nation's history has been forged by people and communities coming together to work as one, concentrating our combined efforts with a focus on the common goal." And then there is page 2, which reads, "We are enormously thankful for the expertise and commitment of our scientists, medical practitioners and emergency and public services. But now, more than any time in our recent past, we all have a vitally important part to play as individuals, today and in the coming days, weeks and months. Many of us will need to find new ways of staying in touch with each other and making sure that loved ones are safe. I am certain that we are up to that challenge. You can be assured that my family and I stand ready to play our part. Signed, Elizabeth R." So let's go back and kind of dissect that statement a bit. So we know that Philip and the Queen have arrived at Windsor. This obviously statement confirms it. We have seen the Queen arriving by car to Windsor. She was in the car seated with her dachshund, Candy, which is a dorgie, which is a dachshund and corgi cross. And this is her last remaining dorgie called Candy. And the Queen was spotted in a vehicle being driven to Windsor with her. We'll look at those photos in a moment. But it was also revealed today that Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, was actually airlifted by helicopter from Sandringham Wood Farm, where he is residing, a week earlier than what he would normally do to spend time with the Queen. We know that the Queen has also gone to Windsor a week early because of what's been going on. She completed her last duty at Buckingham Palace, and she will still be doing her red boxes and some meetings at Windsor from now on. She's likely to remain at Windsor for the foreseeable future. And like I say, she will also have a reduced staff. So they are definitely taking everything very, very, very seriously. Dissecting the statement, the Queen has recognised that we are entering a period of great concern and uncertainty. So I think the Queen is realising that people are worried, people are concerned, not just in the UK, but in the Commonwealth and the wider world. She touches on the fact that we are all having to change our normal routines and regular patterns of life for the good of everyone else. In other words, she is saying, we have to make these sacrifices, take the government advice, stay in, self-isolate where possible, limit your contact, social distancing, and that all of this is to protect the most vulnerable in our society. She touches on the wartime spirit. She says, at times such as these, I am reminded that our nation's history has been forged by people and communities coming together to work as one. She can only be referring to the war effort. And of course, she is the only, she is the most experienced person to be talking about this, about rallying some of that wartime spirit. More so than any other politician, she lived through periods such as the Blitz, and she knows what it takes to be resilient and to come together. And I think she is trying to evoke some of that spirit. And like I say, not just for the UK, but for around the world. She thanks the scientists and medical practitioners who have been doing an amazing job in the UK. She also recognises that this is going to be around for a long time. She says the coming days, weeks and months ahead. And I think we all realise that we are in this for the long haul. This is not going to be something that is going to go away really, really quickly. She also touches on staying in touch. Self-isolation is what she's referring to when she says many of us will need to find new ways of staying in touch. Of course, Skype, the internet, WhatsApp. I know Facebook are doing a new portal screen that you can keep in touch with your relatives. All of these new methods of communication, social media, are going to play a vital importance in helping alleviate mental health troubles when people and families and households are self-isolating. The Queen says, I am certain we are all up to that challenge. I am sure we are. And she says, you can be assured that my family and I stand ready to play our part. Signed, Elizabeth R. Before this message, I was going to come on and say how much I think the nation is needing the Queen, how much almost a national address is needed, a televised national address to the nation from the Queen. She is seen as the grandmother of Britain, of the UK. She's seen as the grandmother of the Commonwealth. And I think to a certain extent, she's almost seen as a global grandmother. When you say the Queen to somebody, they often think of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. No other queen comes close. So she is almost seen as this grandmotherly figure. When she speaks, people listen. If she offers words of comfort and support, people listen and people take note and people find comfort in that. Just take a look at the annual Christmas message, the Christmas address that she makes. It's not just viewed by the Commonwealth, by the UK, it is viewed by the wider world. And in such times where we have YouTube and social media, that message is often shared and enjoyed, and the sentiments are taken by people around the globe. I think we are getting to the point where we need to hear from the Queen. We need a national address. I think this statement is almost preluding that. I think we will get, at some point when the time is right, on government advice, we will get more than likely an address to the nation from the Queen. From Windsor, this will be beamed out from Windsor. The last time the Queen had to make such an address was in a time of great sadness, a time of mourning when Princess Diana sadly lost her life. People needed the Queen, and the Queen recognised eventually after a week that the people needed to hear from her. And I think this is a time similar when people are going through great hardships, great worry, great sacrifice, that we will need to hear from the Queen. And I think her words will resonate not just with the UK, not just with the Commonwealth, but they will echo around the world. And I think people need to hear that from the Queen. Right, I'm going to go to the chat room and see what people are saying. HM the King says, when you say the Queen, something of Beyonce. Ma'am, indeed. Francis says, it's times like these that you see the value of a strong, long-standing monarchy. Continuity. And we'll talk a little bit more about continuity within the monarchy in a moment. Something is coming up. Yes, Matilde, there is only the one Queen Elizabeth Regina. There is indeed. Yes, glorious Gloriana, indeed. Beth says, God bless Her Majesty, stay strong, the UK and the world as well. Right, so I'm going to move on from that. I know I spoke at great length about that on the other chat as well, that I've now deleted. But we're going to move on to the next piece of news. Princess Beatrice's wedding has actually now been postponed. And that is because the Church of England today has issued... basically, they are only going to limit the gatherings, weddings, to 5 people. So that is, of course, the vicar, the bride, the groom, and 2 witnesses. So there is only a policy now within the Church of England for the foreseeable future that only 5 people at a gathering. That includes weddings. So, Princess Beatrice's wedding, although anticipated to be smaller in scale, obviously, than Eugenie's, would have to have been 5 people. Now, I'm sure she would have been happy to have scaled it back. Well, not happy, but she would have accepted to scale it back even more than what she already intended to scale it back to. But I think 5 people might be a little bit crossing the line. So I said in my video yesterday that I thought the best course of action would be to postpone the wedding. So she has actually postponed it now, and I do believe that that is in view of the Church of England's policy on 5 people at a gathering, at a wedding, at a funeral, at any such event. So, yeah, I think it's sensible, and this is totally what I would have done if that would have been me. If I couldn't have had the wedding that I originally would have envisaged, I think it's, time to postpone it, possibly put it back to the winter or even, spring of next year. But I do feel so sorry for Princess Beatrice. I really, really do. Right, I'm going to move on to the next piece of news. Again, a statement from Buckingham Palace. And this is the postponement of the state visit by the Emperor and Empress of Japan. So this was published the 18th of March. And it reads, after consultation with Her Majesty's government and the government of Japan, Her Majesty the Queen has agreed that in the current circumstances, the planned state visit to the UK in spring 2020 by Their Majesties the Emperor and Empress of Japan should be postponed. The state visit will be rescheduled at a later date. Again, I think this is very sensible precautions. And I'm sure when the visit does happen, it will be amazing when it does actually happen. Now, in conjunction with the National Emergency Trust, Prince William has made a video, and he says that the National Emergency Trust has launched an appeal to raise funds to help local charities support individuals suffering hardship as a result of what is going on in the world. I will share a link to some of the things that I've been speaking about if you're watching on catch-up, so I will put the link in the description box so you'll be able to see the video and read the statements from the palace. I also want to share some photographs of the Queen with her doggy Candy, because I think it's important to obviously see the Queen and see that she is okay. So I'm not going to read the whole article, but if you scroll down to the first picture of the Queen, she's wearing her casual clothes. She's accompanied by her doggy, Candy, her last remaining doggy, and this is obviously whilst Prince Philip is returning, was returning at the time, to Windsor to be reunited with the Queen a week early. Queen looking healthy, looking happy, looking safe. Yeah, and I love the fact that she's got Candy with her. I really, really do. There's also a video clip of the Queen being driven back through the gates or rather out of the gates, I should say, of Buckingham Palace, on her way back to Windsor. So that's when these photographs were taken. Again, we don't have any photographs of Prince Philip, but the Queen, like I say, just looking very, very healthy, very, 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 very happy. And yeah, I think she will be very, very, very well looked after where she is. I don't know what the contingency plan is for if she has to move from Windsor somewhere else. Balmoral could be a really good option. It is very, very isolated. HM the King says, their Imperial Majesties will be disappointed, of course. The Emperor studied at Oxford. Indeed. James Med 4 says, like the Queen's wedding was a bright day after the war, hopefully Princess Beatrice's can be that too. Everyone loves a wedding. Indeed. I think that is definitely a point. We will need uplifting. We will need lots of glitz and glamour after these dark days. Yes, Candy is very, very cute. I really do love Candy. Right, I am referring to my notes because I don't want to miss anything. Right. Okay, one of the things that I did really want to talk about as well was the Councillors of State. So there has been things made in the media about the Councillors of State. Now, I do have a link to share about this. So I'm going to read it and then I'm going to talk about what that kind of means in relation to the royal family. So, the Councillors of State are that in the event that the Queen cannot undertake her official duties as sovereign, such as if she was in isolation, on a temporary basis due to illness or absence abroad, 2 or more Councillors of State are appointed by letters patent to act in Her Majesty's place. Now this forms part of the Regency Act. By law, Councillors of State include the sovereign spouse, Prince Philip, and the next 4 people in the line of succession who are over the age of 21. Councillors of State are authorised to carry out most of the official duties of the sovereign. For example, attending Privy Council meetings, signing routine documents, and receiving the credentials of new ambassadors to the UK. However, there are a number of core constitutional functions that may not be delegated, such as Commonwealth matters, the dissolving of Parliament, the creation of peers, and appointing a Prime Minister. So there is a bit of history about the Councillors of State, but I want to concentrate and focus on the current Councillors of State and how this relates to what is going on in the world right now. So Councillors of State are appointed from among the following: the Duke of Edinburgh and the 4 adults next in succession, providing they have reached the age of 21. The current Councillors of State are currently the Duke of Edinburgh, the Prince of Wales, the Duke of Cambridge, Prince Harry, and the Duke of York. So, there are some slight issues revolving around what's going on in the world right now. So let's just say that the Queen is having to self-isolate and can't perform the functions of state as she would normally do. Now, I don't think this would likely to be happening. I think the Queen would be able to carry out the functions of state in most circumstances. But the advice of the UK government is that anyone over the age of 70 should be social distancing and potentially self-isolating. Now, of course, the advice could change to people over 70, you have to self-isolate. Now, if that does happen, basically, the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles, as Councillor of State, might not work. The Duke of Cambridge, Prince William, we'll talk about him in a moment. Prince Harry, of course, has stepped back from senior royal duties. There has been some talk that maybe he could be asked to return by the palace to perform a duty as Councillor of State, but I see a problem with that. Obviously, there is a potential conflict of interest. By the way, stepping back as being a senior royal does not take him out of being a Councillor of State. He is still a Councillor of State, even though he has stepped back. But, of course, he's in another country. He's in Canada. So, he's, apparently self-isolating with Meghan and Archie themselves by choice to self-isolate, to keep themselves safe. So I doubt he would be able to do very, very much from where he is at the moment. The next one, of course, is the Duke of York, Prince Andrew, and I think there would be kind of public outcry and outrage. It would be controversial if he stepped up to be a Councillor of State. So that leaves the Duke of Cambridge, Prince William. And as we know, there might be, well, there is two that are needed and required. So there is talk that maybe the next one in line would be Princess Beatrice. So there is talk maybe Princess Beatrice could be asked to be a Councillor of State. Now, there would have to be a change in law to the Regency Act to allow there to be a sixth Councillor of State. So there would have to be a change. I think unofficially, things have happened in the past. There has been circumstances where kind of unofficially, almost illegally, there has been another Councillor of State. But I think in these circumstances, it would in today's age, it would have to be legal. So they would have to go to the Regency Council would have to go to government and ask for there to be perhaps a temporary appointee. And I think that could actually be in the form of Princess Beatrice. So I just thought I would kind of clear up, hopefully I've cleared up a little bit about what's going on with all the rumours regarding that. Princess Anne can't. She is in the line of succession, but she's further back because obviously as being a daughter, being through the female line. So it kind of goes to the males, and obviously the next in line, because of the Duke of York, would actually be Beatrice. And I know she is female, but it would go through that line rather than going up and being Anne. I do believe. H.N. the King says, where do I apply to the council? Although I agree, I think Princess Anne would be very, very good. If it was possible, I'm Team Anne. I am definitely Team Anne. Tonya says Prince Harry would be one of the people who are in that line of succession, whether William likes it or not. Yeah, there is absolutely no question about that. I just think that performing a function from Canada would be very difficult in that circumstance. Again, I think it would go down through the Duke of York's line, perhaps to appoint one of his children, and of course that would be Princess Beatrice. And of course Anne, like someone has just said, being 70 this year almost falls into that category where, may need to self-isolate. Princess Anne is carrying on like a trooper, she really is. I think she will carry on until the time that she is told to actually stop. Melody says, I think that would be good for Princess Beatrice and the monarchy. Yeah, and Anne probably doesn't have time for that position. She probably doesn't. She does 5 million engagements before breakfast. We all know that. Hello and welcome to Canetta Danes, who has become a channel member. Hello to you. Enjoy your badges. H.N. the King says, surely Harry is leaving the council. As far as I'm aware, he has not left the council. As far as I'm aware. It is for the next 4 people in the line of succession, and he still falls into that category. So I suppose, by right, he is still a Councillor of State. I'm not sure how they could kind of get rid of him from being that. It's what he's entitled to by the laws of the Regency Act, by the laws of the land. H.N. the King's laughing because he thought I said enjoy your badges. No, enjoy your badges. No, Princess Anne's engagements are, each one is under review, serious under review. So where Anne is able to perform an engagement, she has gone on and done it. Yes, Prince Albert of Monaco has what's going on in the world right now. So I'm wishing him and I'm sending him all my very, very best. Yes, Henry VIII did have a very well-known method of removing people that he didn't like. And we all know what that was. Yes, Prince Edward is ahead of Anne in the line of succession. But we're thinking with the Councillors of State, it would fall down to Beatrice. Right, let me just check my notes to make sure that I have actually gone through everything that I wanted to, because obviously doing 2 videos today on this, I just wanted to make sure that I'd covered everything that I wanted to. Right, I have. So, I am going to go now. Just as a side note, for all of the Royal Reviewer patrons, I have cancelled tonight's patrons only chat. Over the last few days, I myself have not been feeling terribly well. I've had, a really bad headache and just a general feeling of being unwell. And I don't know if that actually is just a regular bug that's going around. I don't know if it is what is going around that we're all concerned about. But I don't have a fever. I don't have a cough at the moment. Just a general feeling of being unwell, and it might just be slightly psychological in the fact that we're all worried about getting something, therefore it makes you feel a little bit down and worried and therefore ill. But I've not been sleeping terribly well, so in terms of my patrons only chat, I think I'm feeling like this is enough. Doing what I'm doing today is enough. I don't think I could talk again for another hour. So I do apologise to all the patrons, but I have postponed this week's chat. I may be able to do it a little bit later in the week, or it might just roll over now until next week. So I do offer my sincere apologies. I did post a message on Patreon for that. So, without further ado, I am going to end tonight's chat. I'm going to go and have a rest. I'm going to put my feet up. I'm going to relax, and I implore all of you to do the same. So, if you have enjoyed today's chat, the second version, then please give this video a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media, and also do hit the bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. Also, please do remember to subscribe to the channel. So, from me in Shropshire, mwah, to you all, and stay healthy.